Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Welcome, welcome. My name is Evelyn Cho, and I am live from my home office in Washington, D.C. I am so excited to see so many familiar and new faces in the audience. Hello, hello. Before we get started, I would love to learn about you. So please drop in the chat and let me know where you are joining from. And two, what is one emotion you feel about company restructuring? It could be the reorg you've personally experienced or the ones you read on the news. Please drop in the chat and let me know. And in the meantime, let's dive right in. The topic I would love to talk to you about is your toolkit to navigate the next reorg. According to Investopia, the definition of company restructuring, or in short, reorg, is a series of activities done by the company to significantly alter its financial or operational outcomes. Activities such as consolidating debts, reducing its cost, or cutting down its size. Many of you are familiar with some of the tech companies' recent announcement: Amazon, Google, Meta. And Mark, in his recent announcement, coined 2023 as the year of efficiency. His notion that leaner is better, flatter is better, might be true for his company's balance sheet, provokes huge amount of mixed emotions among its employees. My friends at Meta told me the internal competition went through the roof. And meanwhile, the employee morale has been plummeting. And now at this point, you might be thinking, gosh, what did I just sign up for? Such a depressing topic. And I guarantee you, the structure of this talk is going to start with a personal story, and I will spend the majority of the time talking about a framework that I developed. And I promise you, I will take things in a more positive light, and we'll wrap everything up with what you learned in the session. So let's go back to the whole emotions about reorg. Talking about it traumatized me too, because a little over 3 months ago, I was on the receiving end of this dreadful news. I remember it was a beautiful fall day. My team had an offsite in Philadelphia. We were laughing, jamming, and talking about our roadmaps. And all of a sudden, the manager just started scheduling those 15 minutes meetings with all of us. And when it's my turn, my manager told me that there has been a reorg. She's starting a new function and taking half of the team with her. I, on the other hand, am not among one of them. And let's just pause for a second. I would love to hear what you are thinking. Picture yourself sitting in the same room with me and just learn about that news. What is one word that you would describe how you are feeling? Drop in the chat and let me know. And meanwhile, I will tell you how I felt. I felt frozen. I felt my heart skipped a beat or two. And all of a sudden, my thoughts took over. It's simultaneously producing, scripting, and directing this reality TV show called What's Gonna Happen to Evelyn? Thoughts like, what did I do wrong? What's gonna happen to my job? Will I have a job tomorrow? And what about that project I spent so much time on? What's going to happen to it? All those thoughts were filling my mind. And meanwhile, I was trying so hard to fight back the strong waves of disappointment and shame. And I'll admit it took me, I couldn't remember at this point how long to get out of my own head. But at that moment, the sadness felt like eternity. But once I got out of my head, I remember a quote by the late Secretary of Defense, Donald Rumsfeld, about the things we know and we don't know. He said, there are known knowns. These are the things that we know that we know. There are known unknowns. Those are the things that we know we don't know. But wait, there's a third pillar called unknown unknowns. They are the things that we don't know that we don't know. And up until that point, the whole reorg felt like a black box to me. I didn't know the implication of my project, my performance, let alone my job security. But I decided to take a step and take a look at all the things I know and don't know and write them down just to see what happens. And spoil alert, the state of not knowing still sucks. But this exercise helped ground me. What you see on the screen is a 2x2 framework. The vertical axis is our knowledge. Those are the information or domain expertise you acquired through education or experience. And horizontally, these are awareness, our perception of a situation or things happening. And you'll also notice that I break the axes into two areas based on our level of awareness and knowledge. So altogether, they are the 4 scenarios I will spend a little bit more time on in the following section, because knowing where your awareness and knowledge fall is really powerful in this kind of situation. The first 2 quadrants I'd like to spend a little bit more time on are what I considered the tricky half and halves. The top left quadrant are the things we have awareness, but not so much knowledge of. Examples are reorg or transition details. And on the bottom left are things we do have knowledge, but perhaps not so much awareness of. Examples are your experience pivoting competing project in the past, or connecting to your superpower and solve a very tricky problem. Those are the things that we have previous knowledge. And then the difference between our awareness and knowledge is how much you can do about it. And let me repeat, the difference between the top left corner and then the bottom right quadrant are how much agency you can influence the situation. Let's just say I am more aware of the org details as more information made available. But I wouldn't necessarily have a lot of influence over it, because reorg takes months and quarters to plan. And by the time it's announced to the employees, it's probably mostly set in stone, where the decision makers are so high up in the chain that it felt really difficult to reach them. On the other hand, even though I do not know what the priority of the company is going to be as a result of this reorg, I know in the past, I've successfully navigated competing priorities and effectively balancing all of them. And those are going to be very handy in this new situation. Knowing the difference between awareness and knowledge is such a pivotal moment for me because I realize I have more agency in the realm of knowledge than I previously thought. Let's move on to the bottom left quadrant. These are the things we don't have awareness or knowledge of. Speculation of layoffs as a result of reorg is perfect example. We can do endless Google searches or try to read the tea leaves. But my personal experience taught me that these kind of frenzies do us no good. We can do endless speculation, but at the end of the day, it takes time for these kind of things to unfold. I don't know about you, but I find myself filled with distorted thoughts or assumptions of the worst outcomes. And most people, this single quadrant felt like 99% of the reality, that we have no agency, no power over our own destiny. But is it true that reorgs always lead to layoffs? I did some Google search in preparation for this talk, and unfortunately, most of the search results are about recent tech layoffs. So I decided to ask the latest tech wizard of Oz, ChatGPT. I asked GPT what the statistics are for the company reorg leading to layoffs. And it says the likelihood of a company restructuring leading to a layoff can vary depending on the size of the company, the industry of the company, or the overall economics. I got it. So what I'm learning is that the correlation between the two events is not causal. So if it's not causal, then manifesting in this kind of single quadrant that we have very little knowledge or awareness of has diminishing returns. But I might be the only person feeling this way. And I would love to take a pause and hear from you again. Please type in the chat. You can type I am, me, if you are someone who is energized by analyzing, strategizing over those scenarios you have little awareness or knowledge of, because you are someone special, and I would love to connect with you afterwards and learn from you. That leads me to the last and my favorite quadrant. Things that we know and we have awareness of, the known knowns. Having been with the company for the last 2 years, I know for a fact, even with reorgs, we are going to continue to lean in product-led growth, PLG. We are going to continue to deliver product at scale and do so more effectively. I also know that I will have a new team and that my problem-solving, relationship building, and change management skills are going to be so helpful to myself and to my new team. And if you are a people manager, know that reorg is not just about resources. It is also about scope. Reorg could be a wonderful opportunity to explore new scope or gain new scope. Just remember to focus on what you can influence, leverage the relationships you've built in the past, and anchor that to the company's success. Doing all of that would be super beneficial to your team as well. I'm putting up my own assessment based on my little sad personal saga on the screen. And those are the examples of my knowns and unknowns. And you will notice that at the bottom left quadrant actually has the fewest examples. And seeing this gives me so much assurance because I feel I have agency over the things I can take action on. And I'm also going to drop the worksheet and the link to this in the chat so you can assess your own situation and map out what your knowns and unknowns are. That leads me to the last toolkit, reaching out for help. I know this could be controversial because most people, myself included, aren't really good at sharing or reaching out for help for things we are not comfortable with. My advice, go past that and seek out. One of my friends, Swaylan, and speaking of Swaylan, I hope you all had a chance to check out her talk at the Women in Product Conference this year about her path to CPO. Her journey is phenomenal. What Swaylan told me is this 10-10-10 framework. It's a reframing exercise about the impact it has on you for something uncertain for the next 10 minutes, 10 months, and 10 years. And I love this reframing exercise so much because the initial shock of uncertainty might feel so strong in the first 10 minutes or even 10 days. But if you stretch things out, you will have more perspective. So let's take a look at what you now have in your inventory when you came across another tumultuous event or uncertainty events like a reorg. Number one, acknowledge your emotions. Do not skip it. And this came from another friend of mine, Grace. She reminded me the reason why I was so dumbfounded initially might be attributable to grief. I was grieving that I had to say goodbye to people I work with or the project I worked on. Number two, take inventory of your knowns and unknowns. You likely will find things you have knowledge of and you can act on. And number three, seek out and ask for help. Look around you. The community at the Women in Product Conference is amazing. I am so fortunate to met and connected with some of amazing women over the past few years. And they are now my mentors, my cheerleaders, and confidants. And shout out to Grace, Swaylan, Rosa, and Prue. Thank you so much. I wouldn't be here without your support. I hope this talk gives you the emotional fortitude and systematic tactics that helped you navigate the uncertainty events. And I also wanted to thank you all for coming. I would love to connect with you and continue our conversation. I'm going to drop my LinkedIn along with a couple other links in the chat. But again, thank you so much for coming and enjoy the rest of your day.